What's up, everybody? This is Faith Over Fear, Overcoming Addiction, episode 7.
Lucky number 7.
7. And I'm just checking a couple of things here real quick.
And obviously, we have a different setup going on right now. Move my chair a little
do, and that's because we're actually going to be sharing some slides tonight, and this is my normal command station where I have all of my faculties that I need, and it just makes things a lot easier for me.
More comfortable?
It is.
It kind of is. I like it.
Yep. It's a lot more comfortable like this. And I know where everything's at, and I can do what I need to do. So, that being said, I just want to make sure that we are live here and everything looks good.
And I'm just going to agree with you because I don't know.
I just want to make sure that this is going live. What's that say? Yep, that's the problem right there. Okay, so that is definitely what we don't want. We're going to turn this on friends and save. All right, there we go. So now we are live on my profile. We're live in the FOA. See, I'm trying to compete with Momoa. All the girls love Momoa.
I don't really. No, I don't
Is
get
it the hair?
I've seen photos or like images of him when he was younger, and I guess, more tidied up. I don't know.
Tidied up. You mean,
with a short haircut?
Yeah. Okay. More clean cut.
More clean cut. That's exactly what I was looking for.
Okay. All right.
Not to take anything away from, he's got nice hair and whatnot. It's not.
Well, he's a cool dude. But anyway, I ain't actually Fofoa had nothing to do with Momoa. I just knew what I wanted to call this, and that's the acronym that it all spells out, and it's weird. But anyway.
Fofoa.
No. Fofoa sounds better.
It does sound better.
At least it's more like Fofoa. Bless you. Gesundheit. So in this episode, let's take my old man glasses off.
Yeah, but I like your glasses on.
I know. However, I may need them at some point so that I can read. Also, going to have to bring something up here. So, my darling.
Yes.
Since I did last time, would you like to start us off in prayer?
Sure. You want to hold my hand this time?
Sure.
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for our life. We thank you for blessing us, our family, and giving us the opportunity to reach many people with this struggle that so many people have. We ask that you give us poise, that you give us love, strength to keep on going, and that we can reach even just one person, but it'd be nice to reach a ton of people who might be struggling with addiction. We thank you for having this platform, and we love you. It's in your most precious and perfect Son's name that we pray. Amen.
Holy cow, she got it right. Oh, yes. She got it. She got it on the first try. Normally when she signs off on a prayer with all of that at the end, not that it's not important, but it's normally a tongue twister for her, and she has a hard time getting through it.
Yeah. So, well, I took my
job,
time.
Babe.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So this episode is entitled The Bridge. And people are like, what?
We're going to be singing
What's
a song.
That? Are we going canoodling under the bridge? Is that what we're doing? You know what canoodling is?
It reminds me of, what is that thing that those people do when they stick their hands?
That's exactly what it is. And grab
Is
those
it
big
called
old
canoodling?
and grab those big old catfish.
Oh, okay. I thought it was called something else. It's canoodling?
It's canoodling.
Okay.
Pretty sure that's what it's called.
One of my favorite comedians has a really good joke about that. Kathleen Madigan, if
Oh,
you're out
yeah,
there,
yeah, yeah.
I love you.
Weird.
Me too.
All
I
right.
think
Well,
she's
after the
great.
last episode when we were talking about tour buses, I'll see you later. Anyway.
So is this live? Is that like showing?
No, we're good. We're good.
We're good.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah. Last time, unfortunately, so I had an issue where my personal Facebook got cloned. And that normally is because you keep yourself open to the public. But in the nature of our business, we have to.
Right.
And so it's just one of those things. So I had made all of the privacy restrictions like really strict. And the last couple episodes, I didn't realize that there was no audience. The audience was moi.
And moi.
Yeah. No, just moi. You couldn't even see it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we fixed that. Anyway, so let's talk about the bridge. The bridge has nothing to do. Well, okay. Yes.
You were introduced to it first. So.
Yes, I was. I was introduced to it first by somebody I've mentioned on here before, who probably single-handedly was involved in giving me the information I needed to make sure that I stuck this out. And this actually came before all that.
What do you mean?
The bridge. Me finding the bridge, I think came before all that.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I had gotten it from him before that in a different circumstance.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you kind of want to introduce the bridge? I'm actually going to pull it up here because we're going to bring it up for.
This is like story time.
It is. It's going to be story time with the bishops.
Well, I'll tell you. I can't remember when you first got it, but I remember when I first saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of. I can't remember if we all kind of like read it together, or I remember it's when we were in our Punta Gorda office.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you handed it to me. You're going to have to remind me. But I remember reading it and I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
I took a message from it thinking that, okay, well, it kind of seems like it might be you can't know how to take the message.
So here's the interesting thing. And this is something we talk about on here all the time is you never know what the message that you're receiving is going to be for until it presents the reason that you had it to begin with. Does that make sense? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So what I thought was the case, you just reminded me. If you saw it for the first time in the Punta Gorda office, then it's because I was doing a different podcast at the time, trying to get it going, right? I only did a couple episodes, time. And Jeff Tomas was on that episode and he brought that for that episode. And that's when I was introduced to it. And that's what I thought the case was. But then I was like kind of second guessing myself because you came across it in your notes preparing for this. And it was so much later, but it was all the way back then.
So I think that, and tell me if I'm wrong, because back then, obviously my memory's pretty much always bad sometimes, but it was like really cloudy. I don't know if I found this on your desk or if you handed it to me.
No. I brought it to you. I was so like, it was such a powerful message to me. And funny how Jeffrey has a way of doing those things. But anyway, it was such a powerful message to me. I brought it to you because remember, it's when I had the studio in Patterson's office back there, right in his building.
Yeah,
and I had gotten done with the episode, came back over to our building and to our office, and I'm like, "Babe, you got to read this. This is awesome."
Yeah, and then,
and it meant nothing at the time.
No, it did. It did. I hated it. I hated the message because it
hit
made
too
me
close to home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
So
this was like back in 2019. Yeah, like a year before I even went into treatment.
All right.
Yeah.
So
So,
for all of you that are like, come on, what are you talking
what are you
about?
talking
What
about?
is the bridge? So the bridge is, and we will jump into this. That clearly wasn't the right thing. All right. So the bridge is an adaptation. What we have is an adaptation of an original article published in Reader's Digest.
Oh my
Anybody
gosh.
know what that is?
People out there probably don't know.
We're not old enough. I mean, we're old enough to have seen it as kids, but the only reason I'm aware of it is because my Grammy, my mom's mom, used to subscribe to Reader's Digest. I don't recall this in there. Obviously, it's not like I read it every day because Brett doesn't like to read. But anyway, yeah, that's what this comes from. What we're reading is an adaptation from an original article published in Reader's Digest. I have no idea what year, what issue, anything.
Yeah.
So you want to just take turns reading it?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right.
Excuse me.
You start us off.
All right. So there was a man who had given much thought to what he wanted from life. He had experienced many moods and trials. He had experimented with different ways of living, and he had had his share of both success and failure. At last, he began to see clearly where he wanted to go. I'm going to keep on going.
You read one page, I'll read the next.
Okay, great. Diligently, he searched for the right opportunity. Sometimes he came close, only to be pushed away. Often he applied all his strength and imagination, only to find the path hopelessly blocked. That for sure. And then at last it came, but the opportunity would not wait. It would be made available only for a short time. If it were seen that he was not committed, the opportunity would not come again. Eager to arrive, he started on his journey. With each step, he wanted to move faster. With each thought about his goal, his heart beat quicker. With each vision of what lay ahead, he found renewed vigor. Strength that had left him since his early youth returned, and desires, all kinds of desires, reawakened from their long dormant positions. Hurrying along, he came upon a bridge that crossed through the middle of a town. It had been built high above a river in order to protect it from floods of spring. He started across. Then he noticed someone coming from the opposite direction. As they moved closer, it seemed as though the other were coming to greet him. He could see clearly, however, that he did not know this other. That he did not know this other?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of weird English in there where it keeps referring to the other.
Okay. Who was dressed similarly, except for something tied around his waist. When they were within hailing distance, he could see that what the other had about his waist was a rope. It was wrapped around him many times and probably, if extended, would reach a length of 30 feet. The other began to uncurl the rope, and just as they were coming close, the stranger said, "Pardon me."
Why is he English?
I don't know.
That's not even English. Peter would be so mad right now.
Pardon me. Would you be so kind as to hold the end a moment?
Surprised by this politely phrased but curious request, he agreed without a thought, reached out and took it. "Thank you," said the other, who then added, "2 hands now, and remember, hold tight," whereupon the other jumped off the bridge. Quickly, the free-falling body hurtled the distance of the rope's length, and from the bridge, the man abruptly felt the pull. Instinctively, he held tight and was almost dragged over the side. He managed to brace himself against the edge, however, and after having caught his breath, looked down at the other dangling close to oblivion. "What are you trying to do?" he yelled. "Just hold tight," said the other. "This is ridiculous," the man thought, and began trying to haul the other in. He could not get the leverage, however. It was as though the weight of the other person and the length of the rope had been carefully calculated in advance so that together they created a counterweight just beyond his strength to bring the other back to safety. "Why did you do this?" the man called out. "Remember," said the other, "if you let go, I will be lost." But I cannot pull you up, the man cried. I am your responsibility, said the other. Well, I did not ask for it, the man said. If you let go, I am lost, repeated the other. He began to look around for help, but there was no one. How long would he have to wait? Why did this happen to befall him now? Just as he was on the verge of true success, he examined the side, searching for a place to tie the rope. Some protrusion, perhaps, or maybe a hole in the boards, but the railing was unusually uniform in shape. There were no spaces between the boards. There was no way to get rid of this newfound burden, even temporarily. What do you want? He asked the other hanging below.
Just your help, the other answered. How can I help? I cannot pull you in, and there is no place to tie the ropes so that I can go and find someone to help me help you. I know that. Just hang on. That will be enough. Tie the rope around your waist, and it will be easier. Fearing that his arm could not hold out much longer, he tied the rope around his waist. Why did you do this? He asked again. Don't you see what you have done? What possible purpose could you have had in mind? Just remember, said the other, my life is in your hands. What should he do? If I let go all my life, I know that
I will know.
If I let go all my life, I will know that I let this other die. If I stay, I risk losing my momentum toward my own long sought out. I can't even talk.
It's a difficult read.
After salvation. Either way, this will haunt me forever. With ironic humor, he thought to die himself instantly, to jump off the bridge while still holding on. That would teach this fool. But he wanted to live, and to live life fully. What a choice I have to make. How shall I ever decide? As time went by, still no one came. The critical moment of decision was drawing near. To show his commitment to his own goals, he would have to continue on his journey now. It was already almost too late to arrive in time. But what a terrible choice to have to make. A new thought occurred to him. While he could not pull the other up solely by his own efforts, if the other person would shorten the rope from his end by curling it around his waist again and again, together they could do it. Actually, the other could do it by himself, so long as he, standing on the bridge, kept it still and steady. Now listen, he shouted down. I think I know how to save you. And he explained his plan. But the other wasn't interested. You mean you won't help? But I told you I cannot pull you up myself. And I don't think I can hang on much longer either.
You must try, the other shouted back in tears. If you fall, I die. The point of decision arrived. What should he do? My life or this other's? And then a new idea, a revelation. So new, in fact, it seemed heretical. So alien was it to his traditional way of thinking. I want you to listen carefully, he said, because I mean what I am about to say. I will not accept the position of choice in your life only for my own. The position of choice for your own life, I hereby give back to you. What do you mean? The other asked, afraid. I mean simply, it's up to you. You decide which way this ends. I will become the counterweight. You do the pulling and bring yourself up. I will even tug a little from here. He began unwinding the rope from around his waist and braced himself anew against the side. You cannot mean what you say, the other shrieked. You would not be so selfish. I am your responsibility. What could be so important that you would let someone die? Do not do this to me. He waited a moment. There was no change in the tension of the rope. I accept your choice, he said at last, and freed his hands.
I accept your choice.
What did I say?
No.
Yeah.
I'm just
I accept your choice.
I accept your choice.
Right.
And that was one of the things I remember when I was at Honey Lake. We were talking about, choosing to continue in your behavior and your actions. And I hated this story.
Yeah.
I hated it.
Did you talk about this on Honey Lake?
No, I don't
No.
remember.
But you hated the story.
I hated
so
this story.
Okay. So let's
Because I was
talk
the
about
one.
that.
Okay, so let's put it into perspective.
Yeah.
I was the one that was dangling on off of the bridge.
Yeah.
That was me.
Right.
And I wanted you to pull me out of it.
And I sat there on that bridge with that rope, burning my hands for years and years. And, well, to help facilitate our discussion, and if anybody has any comments, please feel free to leave them in Facebook or on YouTube. To help facilitate the discussion, let's go over the questions from the story, and we'll jump back to this. We'll put the questions up here,
which I've never read before.
No,
because I was so distraught after I read that. I was going into my own mind and my own perspective and things, and I didn't want to read the questions. I didn't want to look at myself.
Yeah.
Obviously, you try to ignore, try to push past it, and I didn't want to dive into it, which is what I had to do in order to overcome my addiction. I had to dive in really deep into all the things that were going on with me and that had gone on with me throughout my life. So this will be fun because I'm reading these for the first time.
All right. Well, let's dig in, because this is where you can really start to, if the story didn't quite make sense to you, the questions will kind of provoke the thought around what the story really means.
So, like a brief synopsis, there's a gal, moving forward with their life, right about ready to reach goals that he had been working towards. And he was thrust into the situation of being the god to this other person that had already got themselves into trouble.
Yeah, I wouldn't use that term, but yeah, like, hey, here comes this stranger and says, hey, you're responsible for my life. Bye. See ya. Over the bridge.
Well, I mean, that's how I kind of interpret it. Well, I interpreted it like you and me, but this could be anybody with any kind of scenario where someone might be holding you back because now you're about ready to grasp everything that you've been working for, and then you get this bump in the road, and now you have to think about rearranging things to help somebody that was maybe not even a factor, or and in the end, the guy that was getting his stuff together was like, you know what, I can't do this on my own. You have to have some responsibility as well. So you make your choice.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's let the questions get us there.
All right.
However, I do want to go back to that one part of the story because I find this absolutely humorous, and I would have loved to have seen him do it. Is when he says, with ironic humor, he thought to die himself instantly to jump off the bridge while still holding on. Wouldn't that be funny if that guy who just put his life in your hands, who's a total stranger to you, and he's hanging and you're doing everything you can to keep him alive, and you're like, you know what? F it. And you jump over and you go past him while he's still holding on, and now he's like, oh,
well, you know what? I mean, that can happen in a lot of like relationships with addiction.
Figuratively, it happens a lot. Absolutely. All right. So let's jump into these questions.
All right.
1, how would you get the man hanging from the rope to take responsibility for himself? Now, this one's kind of tough because in the story, the guy is like begging for him to take responsibility for himself.
Yeah.
But what do you think with that one?
You know what I would do? I would start asking questions. How did you get here?
Okay. So let's keep it in perspective of the story, though. The guy's 30 feet down off the face of the bridge. You're not having a intimate conversation like we are.
Right. I can understand that, but like for emergency response people, when they're trying to help somebody from jumping off of a bridge,
And
they
you
start
know
asking
this, and you know
questions.
this from movies and TV.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and some of my psychology stuff too. So,
Okay.
so you're asking questions because you want to understand, and you also want to get into a effective communication
Mhm.
where you can try to talk somebody through whatever emotions that they're going through, and have them come to the realization of what they also need to do to help themselves up. That's something that we do in our business as well. You ask a lot of questions
Yep.
and you try to uncover whatever's going on. So that would be my answer. How would you get the man hanging from the rope to? Now, here's the thing: he won't necessarily take responsibility for himself yet, because that takes, at least for me, it took a long time for me to take responsibility for myself. Um, but it did start with, counselors and people asking me questions to uncover, how I got there in the first place. So it's
Mhm.
not like you can't go from 1 to 100. You have to go step by step. So that's what I would do. I would ask questions because something got him there in the first place. So let's figure out how.
Okay.
What would you do?
So I'm going to defer on that.
Really?
I am right now.
Are you pleading the fifth?
I'm not pleading the fifth because I'm not on trial, but I'm going to defer on that right now
Okay.
because ultimately I want to get your input on how all of this relates to you. But I think intentionally these questions get deeper as you go.
Oh man.
So, how much responsibility does the man on the bridge have for the other? Now, I will tell you, here's what I'll take this one, but you're not allowed to defer.
Okay.
only I'm allowed to defer on the first one.
We didn't put these rules together
No,
in the
I know.
beginning. It's
I
like
know.
playing a game with our son.
Yeah, well, I'm the producer, so
Okay.
you get to live by my rules.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm an open book.
All right, and then I'm gonna bring us out of that, just because we've already read it, and we'll keep going back and forth. But anyway, how much responsibility does the man on the bridge have for the other?
Sidebar, real quick.
Yeah.
So I'm having a hard time distancing myself from these two fictional people,
Mhm.
and then us two being the two people in the story. So
Doesn't
while we're
doesn't
answering
have to
this,
be the two of us.
okay. So what I'm actually trying to do is I'm answering it like they're two strangers,
Okay.
and then I'm also answering it like it's you and me,
Okay,
because
I don't want you to even think about you and me yet.
okay.
I want to get through these questions based on the story and like humanity,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And then we'll get into you and me because clearly when I gave this to you way back in the day after I had gotten it from Jeffrey, it hit home. And we're
Mhm.
going to talk about that.
Okay.
Okay.
Understood.
So right now it's just how it relates to the story. So how much responsibility does the man on the bridge have for the other? So I will say, and this is against the grain for the state of the world today, and it's sad. There is very little humanity and civility anymore. Even as I've learned recently, even with people that you thought were your mentors, they turn out to be evil demons. Um, but anyway, I believe that everybody, as a human, has the initial responsibility to help a fellow human in need.
We need tissues here for our next
Hmm.
episode just to have them on hand. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Elaborate.
So I've put myself in. I've never looked at this story and put myself in the shoes of the guy that says, "Here's my rope. I'm jumping 30 feet. Good luck." Right.
Mhm.
But I always put myself in the shoe, and I think the reason for that is I would never do that. At
Yeah.
least that hasn't been a part of my life up to this point, right? Um, I'm sure we could get deeper metaphorically, and maybe I have done that on occasion, but nothing that comes to mind. However, in many occasions, I've been that guy on the bridge that gets handed the rope and
Mhm.
says,
Mhm.
"Whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing to me? Okay, I'm not going to let you go. I'm not going to let you die. All right, I'll do whatever I can to help you. And is it to the detriment of me?
Exactly what I was gonna
Awesome.
say.
Let's keep doing it.
That's
Let me
exactly.
keep helping you, even though it's hurting my family and hurting myself. Let me keep helping you."
You, had done it so we'll be together for 20 years come May. We just celebrated our
Mhm.
13th wedding anniversary, and ever since day 1, you were
Mhm.
always like that up until recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I this was not planned, but might as well just go ahead, right?
Mhm.
I don't like morning people or mornings or people. I have another shirt that's actually my all-time favorite, and it says, "I used to be a people person, and people ruined it." And that's where I'm at. And no more, no greater, whatever the term is, no greater before than in recent times when at least one, if not two, of the people that I thought were fairly close to me. One of them definitely. The other one, the one that I mentioned, was a demon. Haven't been close with that person in a while because that person's a demon. But anyway, one of them absolutely love that person, and then realized that ultimately I have cared about people a lot more than they've ever cared about me, and
Mhm.
I'm pretty much done.
Yeah.
It's not to say that I won't go into new relationships uh
You're a little
with an
guarded
open
with your
heart, but
time.
I'm definitely guarded. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't trust people the way that I used to, because people have continually given me a reason not to trust them.
Yeah. That's hard.
Yeah. But the answer to number two is, yeah, I'm that dipshit that's going to hang on to the rope while you're trying to pull me over with you. I'm going to keep doing it to the detriment of myself and the people that I love the most. But I might just be that guy that decides to just jump off and beat you to the bottom.
It's a toss up. You never really know.
Yeah.
So how much responsibility does the man on the bridge have for the other? Gosh. In the I guess, I mean, these guys are strangers,
They
right?
are absolute strangers.
So this is where I'm kind of like torn because, you're supposed to love your neighbor like you love yourself. And I do
I
try
have a
to
hard
be a
time with that.
really good Christian. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, I'm not perfect. I make faults every single day. And I pray you know, for myself to be better. Um, so it's so hard to answer that. I would say, let me rewind for a second. You know how you always used to hear like marriage is 50-50, but it's not.
Wait, what?
So I'm trying to tie this in. So,
Okay.
I
I'll be
always
I'll be on
heard
my best behavior.
I had always
Yes,
heard
honey. Sure.
marriage
I've heard marriage is
marriage is
supposed to be 50-50.
50-50, right? But it's actually 100-100 because when one person is less than 100, that's where the other person has that little extra to give, and then, the opposite. And so, I would say it's kind of like a 50-50 slash 100-100, but these guys are strangers. They have no tie to each other. It's kind of like, why would you get yourself into this situation? And why are you doing this when I have all my
Mhm.
stuff together? And you had mentioned, the world that we live in today. A lot of people just don't take responsibility for themselves. And, you know, admitting you were wrong is something that's really hard to do. It's just easier to point fingers and everything. But in this scenario, I would say that the man on top of the bridge doesn't really have any responsibility to the other person. Who is it that there is like a radio
So
station guy? Were you going to
I was
go
about to
there?
get into that. So
Okay.
let's get into that. We'll kind of talk about
Yeah.
that one
Yeah.
together. So years ago on 105, what is
1025?
I think it's 1025.
I think
Yeah.
it's 1025.
So Drew Garabo, right? Drew Garabo is a radio personality. Maybe he's still there. I don't know. I stopped listening to it years ago. Nothing against any of the people on there, because Mike Calta was on there and he was awesome too. I loved all the DJs that were on there. I used to really enjoy listening to all that. But Drew Garabo said something that really struck me, especially as a father. And it's the fact that if a situation like this happened to him, and like let's just say that it was somebody burning up in a car, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember exactly.
I think it was a little boy in the ocean or something, and there was a
Yeah,
shark or something.
yeah, something like that, right? And but whatever the case may be, anything like that, that if you put your life on the line to save another person, he was at a place in his life where that wasn't the first decision anymore. In fact, he was probably going to decide against it because he had his own child to live for.
Yeah.
And that was very profound.
I think there was a little boy and he was stuck in one of those undercurrents, and there's nobody to undertow. And he could have either run out to try to save the boy and get pulled under as well, or, but then his child would have been fatherless.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and am I gonna risk my life? But and like also to his point, and it's like this is Drew, right? Like if you've ever listened to Drew, he's very sarcastic and satirical, funny as hell. Don't agree with all of the same views, but for the most part, there's a lot of similarity there, and could certainly relate to him. And he's like, how, for all I know, the kid's a little a-hole and didn't listen to his parents, and that's why this is happening. Meanwhile, my child is an angel
up there
listens to me making sandcastles when he knew there was an undertow. So why am I going to go risk my life for this stupid kid when my awesome kid's up there? Why would I do that and leave them without their father?
So
very profound, actually.
I love that we're doing this because I'd love to see a little bit more interaction with this podcast. And I think that, we want to know what your answers would be for this stuff. I mean, this is just our answers and our perspective. So I'm just kind of curious.
If you want to comment wherever you are, whether you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, whatever, if you want to provide in the comments what you think about what we're talking about with these questions, that would be awesome. You can certainly do it later as well, and we'll engage with the comments later. But it would be awesome to get some feedback right now.
So yeah, I'm kind of like, obviously when this was back in 2019, my answer would have been different. My answer was, I was really upset and I didn't like this story because I was like, the guy on top, has a lot of responsibility. Now I'm kind of like, not really.
Yeah.
And that goes into, I just heard it this past week, a coworker talking to somebody else who was mentioning having this person go into treatment. You really can't get healed until you want to get healed. I mean, you might put a Band-Aid on it for a little while, but the responsibility has to be yours and solely yours. That's just my opinion. And that's what happened with me.
That's what happened with you. Like, yes, resounding what happened with you, but that happens with everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I don't believe I'm speaking in generalizations, because it's something that we all know, especially if we've experienced it. The entire world can come crashing down on them. They could be threatened with divorce, threatened with losing their children, threatened with losing everything they know about their life. And if they're not ready, none of it matters.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So we tackled 1 and 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
So number 3, why is it so difficult to let go once we are experiencing rope burn?
Because you've invested.
Yeah.
Like that one's one of the easiest for me. Because you've already invested the time. I'll tell you, it's funny how this story can relate to so much, because obviously we chose this because we're telling our story about overcoming addiction and being the addict and the spouse of an addict. But it relates to so much. So even the professional turmoil that has happened to us over the last year, same thing. You invested so much, you don't want to see it end.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then ultimately it's all out of your control and nobody gives a shit anyway.
And then you're left with the scars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't.
Cue up the who is it that sings Scars? One of our favorite bands.
That's Stained.
No,
No.
it's not.
Disturbed, Papa Roach.
Papa Roach. Yes, Papa Roach.
I was going to say Papa Roach first. You should always go with your first answer.
Always.
I love that song. I really do. If they're listening
they have a new
too.
album. They have a new album coming out.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You can send tickets our way. Number 4. Are we ready for 4? Because I agree with you. I have nothing to add with that one.
Well, is there anything to elaborate on that? So read it again for me because I can't see it.
Why is it so difficult to let go once we are experiencing rope burn?
Okay, so because you're invested, is there any other way to look at that? I think there are. I think there's other ways to look at that.
Why is it difficult to let go once we are experiencing rope burn? Because the pain of letting go is harder than the pain that you're enduring while you're getting the rope burn.
Okay. I like that. And let me know if this is what you mean. The other way that I would look at this is because now I start to reflect internally and I don't want to have to deal with my own thoughts and my own pain of knowing that I let go
too soon.
Right. Almost like not even too soon, but it's almost conceited in a way. Like I'm not even thinking about the person in the life that was lost or all of the people that love them, all that. I'm like, I look inward and not necessarily even in a good place necessarily and be like, I did that. I.
You take blame and responsibility
Yeah.
and what are the pieces going to look like to pick up after?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. Why do the needy often get most needy when others around them are functioning best?
Oh.
It's kind of like how I think of I won the lottery. Now I got all this money.
Oh, by the way, I bought 10 tickets. I sure as hell hope we win.
We would still do this, by the way.
Yeah, we will. In a much more elaborate studio that I don't have to move stuff around.
That's a great, even not with this particular story, why do the needy get more needy when they see other people that are functioning on their best?
I'll relate this to bullies.
Okay.
That statement or that question is exactly how bullies operate. And guess what? You can be in your 60s and still be a bully. Might be a little sore. But yeah, the bullying never goes away, right? And that's exactly what and that's exactly what they do. Bullies identify people who are more caring, more compassionate, have friends, might be more successful, what they perceive to be better looking, what they perceive to have more of it together, and their self-esteem, their idea of their self-worth is so low that they have to beat up on other people that would be their friends if they weren't such a-holes and absolutely pulverize them to the point of extreme depression and ultimately the S word. And for what? For what? Because you suck as a human being and now you've tried to destroy other lives around you.
So I think of the why them, why not me?
Yeah.
Woe is me, woe is me. You know, what what have they done that's better than what I have done? You know.
Yeah. Um
Well, it goes back to not taking responsibility for themselves.
yeah, when we relate this question to addiction, that's what it's about, right? Not taking responsibility for
Mhm.
what you're in and trying to bring people down into your misery. Is that
Right.
accurate?
Right. I do this, but you do that. So you should just gloss over what I'm doing.
Well, that's kind of tit for tat
It exactly
mentality.
is. Yeah. I mean, it is.
Read the question to me
So,
again.
okay. Why do the needy often get most needy when others around them are functioning best?
Um, okay.
So,
So I don't really see the answer to that. I get that what you said is valid, the tit for tat thing, right?
mhm,
Because you're taking in what you just said with the tit for tat, it's you do this, so why is it not okay that I do this? Even though what I'm doing is way worse than what you're doing, I'm looking at what you do and perceiving that to be my defense mechanism to make this okay.
mhm,
However, in that question, I believe it's more I have to look at it again. Uh why do the needy often get most needy when others around them are functioning best? Yes, because they're seeing
their
that
pitfalls.
person gain success, gain love, gain relationship, have a child, whatever the case may be, right? That person, the other person perceives to be something that they want that they feel like they may never attain or whatever, but whatever it is, it's that person seeing the other person have success in life, have good things happen to them, and they can't handle it. They lose it,
Mhm,
right? And
mhm.
they want to do anything they can, like the bully, to bring them down to them or below.
Well, so it's just like, what is it? The power hour, 5 a.m. or whatever. I mean, you get somewhere by putting time and effort into it. And I mean, the guy that sleeps until noon, obviously they might not be doing as well. And well, you've got all of this, so why can't you just give a little bit to me? But I haven't put anything in to back it. You've got so much, so just give it to me.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a generation that we got going on.
Oh, the entitlement. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which that I don't want to talk in generalizations because you and I have been surprised on numerous occasions by young people who are
Very
old
go-getter.
souls and
You
very awesome human beings. So
This kind of ties into the next question.
yeah, go for it.
Why are the dependents so often calling the shots? So this is not really, I mean,
Mhm.
this is kind of like a generalized question. It doesn't really go back into the story. I mean, obviously it ties in a little bit, but this can be just I mean, I can't think of the story and the characters in here. I think about you and I automatically
Okay.
because I was completely dependent. So why are the dependent ones so often calling the shots?
So do you want to elaborate on that or you want to talk about the story first?
I don't know if I can talk about the story. It's like
Well, the story's
like
simple. The guy that freaking said peace
is
out and jumped
selfish.
over the side with a 30-foot rope and then forced this guy to decide
Yeah.
whether he lives or
Yeah.
dies or not. Which, sorry, if you do that in this day and age, you're an idiot. But anyway, yeah, that guy's down there calling all the shots. While the guy's up there trying to figure out how he can save him, the guy's like, "No, why would you do that?"
Right.
Right?
The only word that comes to mind is just selfishness.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But you know what's funny? So when I was in my active addiction, I didn't feel selfish. I was like, but I'm doing this, and I don't. What I was perceiving was that you weren't really doing anything to help. I was still like, remember arguments, fights that we would have, and I'm like, but I do this.
Yeah, all the time. It was constant comparison.
Yeah. So why are the dependents so often calling the shots? It's just selfishness. That's all I got.
It's out. Yeah. Yep.
It
Yeah.
was an easy one.
Yeah.
Anything
Ditto.
to that?
I concur.
Do you concur?
I knew I should have concurred.
All right. Last one. Put this critical incident in the context of your. Oh, I see how this all kind of comes back around. Look at that. Excuse me. So put this critical incident in the context of your everyday working life.
So I've already alluded to my everyday working life, and the fact that none of it was worth it. None of it.
I mean, it was because there's other opportunities and things that have kind of transpired because of all the stuff and effort that you put in.
No.
But here's the thing. It's like, how do we ever really know? Unless you have one of those Jimmy Stewart, It's a Wonderful Life moments.
The effort that I put into that place specifically, and the people that I saved money by doing the things that I did, and the weekends that I was there doing things instead of being with you and our son, none of that provided the opportunity that I have been blessed with recently. That came from being intentional about developing relationships with people outside of those schmucks, and an amazing community, a leader of all of us that put all of us together in a group, another one whose wedding we were at recently, who provided amazing opportunities for me, and he's so much younger than me. Kind of makes me sick, but no, not really. I love him. And really, and because I want to address this too, because it was misconstrued 2 episodes ago. I mentioned hang out with the people that remind you of your future, not your past. That was in no way, not even a thought in my mind had anything to do with family or even past friends, really. It was about working relationships. Because that's the context that it was delivered to me in.
And so I want to make sure that people out there understand, we're kind of going off on a sidebar right now. I've got all of this lawyer stuff going on today, but
there was a lot of legal decisions today. So,
but excuse me, but work actually was one of the reasons why I drank.
Huh?
So when we were talking about, all of those reasons that I listed off, boredom, loneliness, Brett was working, putting time, effort into places that maybe he sees now really didn't do any of us any good. And I was, when you weren't around during the nights and weekends and everything, that's another reason why I drank. And so you would get frustrated from work and all the weight that was on you, right? And you would come home and be frustrated, whatever. And then instead of me dealing with it and us having a conversation and talking through it, I would just drink. I would revert to that instead of, honey, tell me about what's going on with you. What can I do to help? It was just, I would just turn to drinking instead of trying to help you work through all of that stuff. So the reason why I'm saying this is because, we're talking a lot about, work, and people just chiming in might be like, what does that have to do with addiction, overcoming addiction? It did tie into my addiction.
Well, it
did.
Well, and I drank a lot because of it too. I mean, we talked about, that there was a codependency there. But
Mhm.
and also just to kind of set things straight, like you talked about all the pressure that was on me. A lot of that was self
Inflicted.
placed, right?
Yeah.
Those schmucks that I talked about didn't necessarily put that pressure on me, but I have so much pride in the business that I own, or providing a nice place for people, or whatever the case may be, that I put a lot of that on myself, and then quickly woke up to nobody else gives a shit.
Well, and then like you said, you would drink. In our business, alcohol and real estate go hand in hand. And you would drink, and then I would say, well, you're drinking, so I'm just going to go ahead and drink, and it all kind of funnels together. I mean, it really did.
Mhm.
And so, finding peace in your personal, your work life, everything, if one thing's off, then it can kind of like dominoes, and it just all falls down. But yeah, put this critical instant in the context of your everyday working life. That ever
But
since day one, I did.
yeah, well, so this talks about working life, but I think you can relate this to any facet of your life, right? So
Mhm.
personal life too. Um,
Well, working
we
life, when I was drinking and everything, I never would really put in a full day. Like, I'd have my highs and I definitely had more lows, but I would have conversations with people that I completely forgot. And in our business, you kind of have to be on par with what's on par. Is that
yeah.
okay?
Uh,
With
it's a
everything.
detail oriented
It's
business,
very
and if you
detail
forget the
oriented.
details, you're screwed.
And so when I wasn't working, then, I wasn't making money, and
Mhm.
then credit card debt, and it all tied in. It was, yeah, it was a mess
Yeah.
that I'm still trying to fix. you know those consequences, they don't go away, and you're a big consequence person.
Yeah. I just had a conversation with a leader the other day, and that was one of the things. There's questions that we go through. You know what I was doing, validating a certain assessment.
Hmm.
And I mean, I was asked about certain things and how do I interpret those, and I'd said on probably three different occasions through that validation was, I'm the kind of person that thinks that if I do this, what happens 10 steps down the road.
Hmm. it's
And that's the way I've always tried to raise our son.
And that's one of the exercises that I did at Honey Lake too,
Yeah.
was, what will happen if you do this, and the reframing and reenacting
Hmm.
as well. So it's kind of, I don't want to say, you were right. And you weren't right with everything, but you were pretty much right with a lot of the stuff. And it's like seeing, it's so funny. This is my journal from
I'm glad
2020.
it's being
So we
recorded,
have it. Yeah.
because
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna take that snippet, and that's gonna be the first short you see is, you were right, you were right,
You
you were right,
suck.
you were right, you were right. That's all it's gonna say.
You suck. This is actually my vision journal from 2020, and it says, I can see clearly now.
Yeah.
And this actually, I started in 2019, and this was before I went to Honey Lake and everything. But it's like, you can have the same material in front of you for different times during your life, and it doesn't really click until you're really ready to see. Which, oh gosh, there's something in here. The first time God spoke to me, I've got to find this, because I remember waking you up to, uh, oh, here it is. January 11th of 2020.
Hmm.
God just spoke to me. I have been waiting for so long to hear from him. He said, I will not give you vision to see until you can see the truth. Like, I heard that clear as day, and I'm,
So what does that mean to you? What's your interpretation of that? What's the truth?
gosh, I don't have enough time. Well, kind of like what I was talking about. I had signs all around me before I went into treatment.
Hmm.
Um, and it's like, I knew I had to do something about it, but I still wasn't, the path wasn't clear.
Right.
And I couldn't fully embrace what God had planned for me until I cleared away all the baggage and cleared away all the cobwebs. I mean, you can see a lot of things and you can understand it, but for me, really feeling and giving myself the opportunity to see it through his eyes. That's what it means to me.
Okay.
Oh, I remember I used to do we had coffee, like a coffee bar at our church for many years until COVID. And there was this guy who used to work with me, and I thought I was a pretty good Christian. And we were having a conversation one day, and he's like, God is the first thing that I think about in the morning, and God's the last thing that I think about before I go to sleep. And I was like, oh, jeez, that's a lot of God.
Jeez. Judgmental Christian.
It was. This was back in it was 2017, 2018, I think.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think about God, obviously, but not as much as you do. I certainly wasn't thinking about him every single day. And once I started bringing God into my day-to-day, moment-to-moment life, I really couldn't see and understand everything. I had to see it through his eyes and not mine. And I think that's what God was trying to tell me. I can't see it through my eyes because my eyes can deceive me.
Yeah.
But my eyes as God will never deceive you. And that's when I really started to see clearly. And that's where Honey Lake was a really great place for me too, because, it was a Christian treatment facility. You don't have to be a Christian or whatever to go there. But with the teachings and everything, God's word is solid to me.
I'll be honest with you. So this is something that I find fascinating, and maybe it's something that I don't know if it leads us into what we talk about next week, but it's something that I imagine we'll expand upon at some point, is that people that I have never known to be Christian or have a relationship with God, not that they were even atheist or agnostic or anything, just that it wasn't clear that they were even that kind of person that had a relationship, right? And one of them that I'm thinking about is somebody that we really want to have on as a guest here, because that person's story is just powerful. But I never, in the days that I spent with him, in our party lifestyle, whatever, I never ever even thought that he had any kind of relationship with God. And it's staggering to me in a good way. So should that be overpowering? Staggering has kind of a negative connotation. But it's awesome to me to know how many addicts find God, Jesus, whatever their faith was or is that they're drawn to through the healing process.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And then how vocal and verbal they are about Jesus.
Yeah.
Or God.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
It's amazing to me.
It's just like, when we started to pray together, it felt really weird and awkward. And now it's just like with anything. It's like speaking in public. The more you do it, the more comfortable you feel. And, there were times that I wouldn't put a post out or talk because I wasn't sure how that was going to be perceived by the other person that I was talking to. But now,
You know what I think about every time that happens?
Huh?
That if you deny me,
Uh-huh.
I think about it every single time. Like,
Yeah.
what's Facebook in the grand scheme of things? If I say amen to this post and people don't like me, I ain't got to answer to them. Yeah. I don't want to get to those pearly gates and be like, bruh, you denied me on Facebook.
But one of the things that does annoy me, I have to say, is if you don't repost this.
I hate those. I'm not talking about chain emails and things like the chain posts and things like that. Those annoy me too. I honestly think, like, for all we know, those are sent out there so that they can find out who all the Christians are and persecute us later. Like who the hell knows where they're coming from, right?
True.
But anyway, without going down,
I mean, say amen. Say God bless you
always
when somebody sneezes. You know.
Oh,
But that the
I
more
get
practice you
when
get,
they don't say thank you. That's where I'm working on the Christian side of me, because I get annoyed if I say God bless you and you don't say thank you.
Yeah. Or if you open the door for somebody and you don't say thank you. Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it's just like with anything, you put time, energy into whatever you're doing, it gets easier, and the right people are going to be around you. God's going to place the right people in your life.
Yep.
And then that's where we have a responsibility. I think that, and it goes back to the story, the bridge. It's like, how much responsibility does the one man have for the other? I mean, now I feel like I have a little bit of responsibility towards my fellow human being. But again, quite full disclosure, I feel a little guarded with my emotions and my time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a group that I spend absolutely every morning with, and that group shows that humanity every day, but they're also not enablers. You know what I mean? Like, I can think of a couple of people when I mentioned that we were at the wedding recently, and then the guy that put the whole group together. I'm purposely not mentioning names in case they don't want me to. Those relationships have been profound in my life, and but if I was in a place where I was like take, they wouldn't enable that. They'd come down here, kick my ass, and take me to a place where I can get help.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't enable it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're good people.
Yep.
And I like
and there's
them too.
ladies in there too.
And I like them too. A lot. I like you a lot.
I like it a lot. So wow, this was a good one. I enjoyed this conversation.
By really fast.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I enjoyed this conversation. So again, we were looking at reading and discussing an adaptation. The reason I say that is because it's written on the bottom of the first page, and I want to give credit where credit's due so that nobody comes after us for any copyright issues.
Okay.
But it's cited as an adaptation of an article originally published in Reader's Digest called The Bridge. And
look that up, children, youngsters, in the library or
your grandmommy and grandpappy probably got a copy of it somewhere.
I loved the little stories that they had in there.
Yeah,
like the jokes and everything.
Yeah, I used to read my Grammys.
Yeah,
I did.
I liked it a lot.
So hopefully you guys got some value out of this and some thought-provoking.
I was gonna say that
moments.
Exactly what I was gonna say. Some thought-provoking moments where you can, maybe internalize.
Yourself. You can apply it to your personal life, your professional life, work life, right? Whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And if you are somebody who's struggling with addiction, alcoholism, whatever the case may be, if you are a spouse, friend, loved one of someone who is struggling, then please reach out to us. You can, if you feel so inclined, because people who are strong, I don't want to say it like that, but people who don't necessarily care about the anonymity, when you post and comment, that really gives other people hope to see that. However, we realize that takes a very certain individual, and most of us are not like that, myself included, Amanda as well. We would now because of what we're trying to accomplish here. But when we were in the thick of it, no, not at all.
Because
it's our
the
business.
shame, and it's like, The shame is the terrible S word.
Yeah. So if you don't want to comment publicly, we certainly understand that, but you are more than welcome to direct message us. And you can reach out to us either through Facebook or YouTube. YouTube, it's public comments. So Facebook, feel free to reach out to either one of us through direct messaging, and we will definitely talk to you and listen to. One thing one thing we've learned is and this is something that is, I just heard it again in our Keller Williams system. So I'm always going to talk about Keller Williams because of the culture and what it's done to change our lives. But we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Listen twice as much as you talk, right?
And
so we are here for you.
And if you just need to talk and you don't want any kind of input, or just knowing that somebody else is on the other side, feel free, just reach out. I mean, if you ask for help, or if you ask for our opinion or whatever, of course we'll give that to you. But really, for the most part, especially for me, I just needed someone to listen to me. And I didn't need to hear somebody else's, input and what I thought of as ragging at the time and looking down and pointing fingers, because I didn't need that. I just needed someone to really hear me. And that's one big issue for everybody. Even if you're not even in an addiction or whatever, just having somebody listen to you is so important. So we can be your sounding board.
Yep. And that was a huge thing for me, is I didn't even know where to go I didn't know where to start to even think about finding support as the spouse of the person with the addiction.
And you definitely need support.
You do. Absolutely. So we're here for you. We will do everything that we can to get you connected with the right support system. Even if that means, hey, don't get me connected with anything, just talk to me.
Absolutely.
We'll do that. Whatever it takes to help you. That's our mission here. So we enjoyed you guys being here, listening to us. I certainly enjoyed this conversation. It was awesome to have this story to really get engaged with, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, awesome episode, babe. Good job.
You as well. Thank you, honey.
We'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.